This photo is the most historic photo in physics. A total of 29 scientists gathered and debated in one forum called the Fifth Solvay Conference. They weren't just anybody. They were Nobel Prize-winning physicists, including Einstein. What were they debating? They were debating about quantum theory, which had just been born at the time. It was a theory that changed how physicists viewed physics itself. The theory said that at the atomic level, physics was no longer a precise science. It had become a science of uncertainty, to the point that Einstein himself opposed quantum theory by saying God does not play dice.
Einstein published his theory of relativity more than 40 years ago now. Never embrace the quantum world, it revealed. God doesn't play dice. Precisely.
But besides their debate about quantum theory, there is something interesting about this photo. 3 people in it were featured in the movie Oppenheimer. They were Albert Einstein, Niels Bohr, and Werner Heisenberg. Why were these 3 people featured in the movie Oppenheimer? Because they were Oppenheimer's teachers. For those who don't know, Oppenheimer is a historical film that tells the story of the creation of the atomic bomb that destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The main character in the film is J. Robert Oppenheimer, the American physicist who led the Manhattan Project, the project to build the atomic bomb. But Oppenheimer would not have been able to make the atomic bomb without studying under these 3 men, because they were the founders of quantum theory, and they were the ones who best understood why an atomic bomb could be created.
We've all heard about Einstein and Stiller's letter to Roosevelt warning him the Germans can make a bomb, and I know what it means for the Nazis to have a bomb.
So, watch until the end, and we will discuss the story of Oppenheimer and his 3 teachers, which will definitely be exciting. Because this is not just the history of the creation of the atomic bomb. It's the history of physics' involvement in war. A story about brilliant people who, when they get involved in war, the consequences are fatal. They can create weapons that never existed before.
We have to make the politicians understand this isn't a new weapon. It's a new world.
And if the truth is catastrophic,
then you stop and you share your findings with the Nazis.
The movie Oppenheimer opens with an interesting quote. Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to man. For this, he was chained to a rock and tortured for eternity. Who was Prometheus? He was the god of fire in Greek mythology. He was famous for stealing fire from the gods and giving it to mankind. Fire is a symbol of knowledge. So with that fire, humans had civilization. But as a result of his actions, he was punished by Zeus by being chained and tortured. Why was this quote included? Because Oppenheimer's story is similar to Prometheus. He became famous for creating the atomic bomb, so he was called the father of the atomic bomb. The irony is that after he finished creating the atomic bomb and America won the war after it was dropped on Japan, Oppenheimer was treated unjustly. He was accused of being a Russian spy and a communist.
Based on information gathered from a spy at Los Alamos.
no spy at Los Alamos.
Gentlemen,
There wasn't?
let's not get sidetracked.
As a result, he was put on trial until his security clearance was revoked. So his fate was the same as Prometheus, who, after giving something valuable to humanity, was punished. Now we will go back in time so you can know who Oppenheimer was and how he was able to create the atomic bomb. Oppenheimer was an American born in America. From a young age, Oppenheimer was known as a genius. He graduated from Harvard in just 3 years and with honors. He was known to be multi-talented and mastered many fields: science, philosophy, literature, and even many languages. It's told in the film Oppenheimer that when he visited the Netherlands, he was able to master the Dutch language in just 6 weeks.
Hey, the bull sing tusen en alfadelsken at home.
You learned enough Dutch in 6 weeks to get a lecture on quantum mechanics.
But it's
to challenge myself.
And his language skills also allowed him to read Hindu scriptures in their original language.
What's this?
Sanskrit.
Which is why he is famous for his quote taken from the Bhagavad Gita.
And now I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
But behind his intelligence, Oppenheimer was a complicated person. He was easily stressed and emotional, and was suspected of having schizophrenia.
Have you had any sleep?
While studying at Cambridge in England, he even considered poisoning his lecturer with cyanide because he couldn't stand the lecturer's bullying, who considered him incompetent in lab work. Although in the end, he stopped himself. That's what caused him to leave Cambridge and move to Germany to study quantum physics. Quantum physics was what made Oppenheimer find his way. He earned his PhD at the age of 23. Then he returned to America and was the first to teach quantum physics in the country.
I hear you want to start a school of quantum theory.
I am starting it next door.
Now let's discuss how Oppenheimer came to be connected to the three founders of quantum theory, and how that led him to become the father of the atomic bomb. First, you need to know who these three people were: Einstein, Niels Bohr, and Heisenberg. First, Einstein. Everyone knows he was a genius for discovering the theory of relativity and finding the formula E equals mc squared. But the important point is that Einstein initiated the birth of quantum theory after he discovered the photoelectric effect, which concluded that light not only behaves as a wave, but also as a particle. And that is the paradox of quantum physics.
Is light made up of particles or waves? Quantum mechanics says it's both. How can it be both? It can't. It can't. But it is. It's paradoxical, and yet it works.
The second person you need to know is Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr was the one who discovered the structure of the atom. So the image of the atom that you have seen for a long time, that an atom is like a planet with an atomic nucleus in the middle and electrons orbiting it, is Niels Bohr's discovery. So this atomic model is called the Bohr atomic model. So Niels Bohr's contribution was huge in the development of atoms, including in quantum theory, because quantum theory would not exist without Niels Bohr's atomic structure. And the third person you need to know is Heisenberg. Heisenberg discovered the most important principle in quantum theory, the uncertainty principle. This principle says that at the quantum level, a particle's position and velocity cannot be determined at the same time, which is contrary to classical physics. This principle is what caused Einstein and Niels Bohr to debate. Niels Bohr concluded that in the quantum world, the reality of an object becomes uncertain, and he even dared to say that reality is subjective. And Einstein didn't like this conclusion, which is why the famous word from Einstein came out: God does not play dice. And Bohr replied by saying, Einstein, stop telling God what to do. In the 1930s, Germany was in an economic crisis as a result of losing the First World War. And Hitler accused the Jews of being the cause of the crisis. So Hitler wanted to cleanse Germany of Jewish people. Automatically, Einstein also became a target. And even quantum physics was considered by Hitler to be a creation of the Jewish people.
Hitler called quantum physics Jewish science, said it right to Einstein's face.
Einstein was threatened with murder. In a magazine, Einstein was even labeled not yet hanged. So Einstein fled to America to save himself and chose to live in America. That's where he met Oppenheimer, even though they didn't talk about the atomic bomb at that time. But what is certain is that Oppenheimer was one of the people who helped Jewish people get out of Germany.
They think that socialism is a bigger threat than fascism.
Not for long. Look at what the Nazis are doing to the Jews. I send funds to colleagues in Germany to emigrate. I have to do something.
So when did the atomic bomb issue start to emerge? In 1938, a year before the outbreak of World War II, or 7 years after Einstein moved to America. So at that time, the world of physics was in an uproar because German physicists discovered nuclear fission, the splitting of the atomic nucleus.
On me! On me! What? What is it?
They've done it. They've done it. Hahn and Strassmann in Germany. They split the uranium nucleus. It's a nuclear fission. They did it. They split the atom.
It's not possible.
As soon as this news reached Einstein's ears in America, Einstein immediately wrote a letter to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the American president at the time, that this phenomenon could lead Germany to create an atomic bomb. In his letter, Einstein warned that if the atomic bomb was brought on a ship and detonated in a port, the entire port and its surrounding area would be destroyed.
We've all heard about Einstein and Zillert's letter to Roosevelt warning him the Germans can make a bomb, and I know what it means for the Nazis to have a bomb.
This letter was what initiated America to start the Manhattan Project, the project to build an atomic bomb to counter Germany's atomic bomb. And Oppenheimer was chosen to lead this project.
Now I'm looking for a project director.
And my name came up.
Even though you brought quantum physics to America, which made me curious.
Oppenheimer immediately gathered the best physicists to join this project.
It's about unleashing a strong force before the Nazis do.
Yeah.
The question is, was Germany really building an atomic bomb? Now, before we talk about Germany's atomic bomb, we will talk about Heisenberg in Germany. Heisenberg was German, just like Einstein, but the difference was that Heisenberg was not Jewish, so he was relatively safe in Germany. Just like Einstein, Heisenberg was a genius physicist. At the age of 25, he had become the youngest professor in Germany, and he was clearly one of the pioneers of quantum theory. Heisenberg's student was Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer studied quantum physics from Heisenberg when he was a student in Germany.
Oppenheimer, yes. I liked your paper on molecules.
Probably because you inspired it.
Back to the question, was Germany building an atomic bomb? Einstein's suspicion was correct. Germany did start an atomic bomb project, and who was recruited to build it? It was clearly Heisenberg.
Who do you think they put in charge? Werner Heisenberg. He has the most intuitive understanding of atomic structure I've ever seen.
So if America had Oppenheimer, Germany had Heisenberg. They competed to see who could build the atomic bomb the fastest. But Oppenheimer was sure Germany would lose. Why? As was said earlier, Hitler hated quantum physics, while quantum physics was the basis for making the atomic bomb. In addition to Einstein's formula, E equals mc squared. Because of that, Oppenheimer was sure that Germany would be half-hearted in carrying out its project. It was proven that several times Heisenberg submitted a budget for the creation of the atomic bomb, but it was rejected because it was considered too large, even though making an atomic bomb was not that easy.
Hitler is so blinded by hate that he's denied Heisenberg proper resources because it'll take vast resources.
Heisenberg also became stressed because his atomic bomb project was not getting finished, while Oppenheimer's progress in America was quite significant. That's what made Heisenberg go to Denmark to meet Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr was Heisenberg's teacher. The meeting between Heisenberg and Niels Bohr was quite controversial. Some say that Heisenberg tried to persuade Niels Bohr to help him make an atomic bomb in Germany. But some also say that Heisenberg actually told him how to make the atomic bomb.
Heisenberg sought me out in Copenhagen. It was chilling. My old student working for the Nazis. He told me some things to draw me out.
Funnily enough, on the other side, Oppenheimer was also trying to recruit Niels Bohr. So Niels Bohr was fought over by two opposing sides. Why? because Niels Bohr was a physicist on par with Einstein.
Is there any chance of getting Bohr out of Denmark?
See that important?
How many people do you know who proved Einstein wrong?
There is an interesting story about Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr was Danish, and actually Niels Bohr was not Jewish, but because his mother was Jewish, he was still hunted by Hitler just like Einstein. Because at that time Denmark was controlled by Germany, Bohr left Denmark to save himself. He fled to Sweden using a small boat, then rode on an English fighter plane until it was said that he fainted on the plane because he forgot to wear an oxygen mask.
British pilot put me in the bomb bay, showed me the oxygen, but I messed it up. When they opened me up in Scotland, I was unconscious, but I pretended I'd been napping. So please enjoy your party.
When Niels Bohr arrived in America, Oppenheimer was happy because he thought Niels Bohr would join, but he didn't. Niels Bohr actually wanted to remind them of the dangers of the atomic bomb because Bohr was aware that the atomic bomb was too powerful for one country. He was worried that in the future, there would be a nuclear competition that would destroy the whole world.
We have to make the politicians understand this isn't a new weapon. It's a new world.
This also made Oppenheimer hesitate and consult with Einstein because a calculation was found that this atomic bomb would destroy the world.
When we detonate an atomic device, we might start a chain reaction that destroys the world. And if the truth is catastrophic,
Then you stop and you share your findings with the Nazis.
The point is that both Einstein and Niels Bohr, who were both Oppenheimer's mentors, did not want to be directly involved in the creation of the atomic bomb because they were aware of the consequences.
I'm not here to help, Robert. I knew you could do this without me.
This is yours, not mine.
But what could be done? Oppenheimer couldn't back down because he had already recruited many scientists, and America's support for him was huge. Oppenheimer was even allowed to build a temporary city in Los Alamos to become the largest laboratory in the world to create the atomic bomb. In July 1945, the atomic bomb design was completed and successfully tested. Unfortunately, at that time, Germany had already surrendered, and only Japan was still fighting. So the atomic bomb, which was originally a gift for Hitler, America decided to drop it on Japan. There were even efforts by several physicists to prevent the atomic bomb from being dropped on Japan. Even Leo Szilard, who, along with Einstein, had written a letter to Roosevelt asking Oppenheimer to persuade the American government not to drop the bomb.
Germany's defeated. Japan's not going to hold out alone.
You and Einstein with your letter to Roosevelt saying we could build a bomb.
Against Germany.
That's not how weapons manufacture works, silly.
But what could be done? Oppenheimer had already handed over his atomic bomb to America, so it was up to America where to drop it.
Japanese people will not surrender under any circumstances. The use of the atomic bomb on Japanese cities will save lives.
Oppenheimer's atomic bombs were finally dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and ended World War II.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima.
On one hand, Oppenheimer was a hero, but on the other hand, he felt haunted by the victims of the atomic bomb he created.
Mr. President, I feel that I have blood on my hands.
And it turned out that Niels Bohr's fear was right. The atomic bomb would not end with Oppenheimer creating it, because as soon as the atomic bomb was dropped, the whole world witnessed its power. And in the end, a nuclear competition occurred all over the world.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.